Yeah, yes, Shivesh.
Okay, great. So thank you everybody for your time. We're all so excited to bring this opportunity to you as we've all been very faithful with us. We invested in two funds before, and we're hoping to work with you on this one and bring some really good opportunities to you. So I'll just pick a few questions. We've answered most of it in our Q&A PDF that we prepared. We'll be sending that out with the recorded webinar. So first thing, this recording will be made available to all of you. Raghu will probably send it out sometime tomorrow. There was one question which basically asked about the risk in investing land. I think during the webinar we addressed most of it, but I'll add one more thing. Our whole focus on investing and buying land is still keeping with our approach in what we did with multifamily. We're just going down the ladder a little bit. Most of the land that we're looking is still lands that have the potential to be zoned and entitled as multifamily lands. So what we're doing is we're actually going one step below and trying to get the benefit of both development and acquisition to you. So not all of it will be multifamily, but a good portion of land what we buy will have at least some component of the multifamily. To give you an example, the 130 acres that we were talking about, in which Edward from BB2 was giving you all the highlights, that land has an industrial component, a commercial component, and a multifamily component. So the fact that we're able to buy that land and develop multifamily along with everything else is a very good way of hedging our risk. So that's the whole thesis behind us buying, looking at land opportunities. There was one more question about depreciation. Since this is land, obviously there's not going to be any depreciation, unlike multifamily, because that is a brick and mortar structure. Land is not an income producing asset, so there will not be any depreciation on land. There's a question on returns. I think we've answered it, and I'll quickly do it again. So the returns on this, there's not going to be any, there are preferred returns, but it's not going to be quarterly returns. But it doesn't mean that there will not be any returns during the fund period, because like you were saying, our typical hold period is going to be between 5 to 7 years, but we might buy some land, and as Prasanna was mentioning, we might exit one portion of it, and then, or we might do a JV with another big developer. So there will be instances where at some portion in between, we might be able to take some equity out. And if that happens, then obviously at that time, we will make a distribution. Is it possible to get this recording? Yeah, like I said, we're going to get this back to you. I think that was pretty much it. Every other thing that I see, we have answered in our Q&A document that we'll be sending out to you.
Shivesh, there are a couple of questions which I will answer. One is, what is the minimum investment to this fund? Minimum investment is 50K, like we had in the other funds. And there was a question on, can we invest through 401k, IRA and all that? The answer is yes, you can invest through IRA and 401k funds.
Yeah. Raghu, can you hear me? This is Prasanna.
Yes, Prasanna.
Yeah. I think the key takeaway is for investors, unlike multifamily fund, you can start investing any day. It will be open for next year or two. But as we have lined up the lands, so the very first one is going to be closing next month. So you start investing, your investment clock will begin October 1st onwards. So it is open, going to be open tomorrow. Secondly, on a discretion basis, approval of management, we are also thinking of offering some flexible exit options on a case-by-case basis after at least of 3 years of hold. So I think that brings some flexibility for some of the investors. And then again, there is no fund like what we have today that brings so much of diversification. This is very unique, and it's not like any other land deal that you're seeing. And lastly, the lands that we have lined up, they have already gained value from day one. So, your return on investment is very much assured, because what we see, a lot of buyers from New York and other institutions are already asking that they want to buy these lands. So, the point is, this is an amazing opportunity to invest with us, as you have done in the past in multifamily. So on some diversification, some you can invest some in multifamily, some in land. So we continue to grow your investments. Thanks, Raghu.
Sure. Again, we went through all the questions. We knew that these questions are coming, so we have already taken a note and then prepared a very detailed FAQ, which we will be sharing it with you hopefully by tomorrow. So most of your questions should be answered there. In case if you still have further questions, do not hesitate to contact us. And there is one.
Raghu,
Yes.
there's one question. Let me answer.
Yes, please go ahead.
Question. This question is very important for all investors. We've answered it. We addressed it during the webinar, but can you address the top 3 risks? One thing, like we said before, we want to make sure that this is a real estate investment. Any investment comes with certain degree of risk. We're all professionals, we know that. But like we mentioned, we always try to de-risk this whole process as much as we can. We did that on our multifamily platform. And even over here, the lands we are buying, like we said, it's not speculative lands. It's basically land that has some development potential in the future, be it multifamily, industrial, commercial, mixed use. So that compared to other asset classes, it's definitely not as risky, but that element of general risk, investment risk is always there. We just want to be very transparent and then make sure that when you're investing, please do the homework on your side as well. And if you have any questions specific, feel free to reach out and then we will answer them. Okay.
Sure, Shvesh. I think there is one more question I think we need to answer. Somebody, they were asking, the funds that I invest, is it linked to a specific property, or you will be owning shares in all of the properties? Shvesh, do you mind answering that question?
Right. So you're investing in the fund. The fund is land agnostic in the sense it's not tied to one piece of property. That's how we're diversifying the risk. You'll be investing in the fund, and that fund in totality will invest in all the properties that we buy under this fund.
After adding maybe 4 or 5 properties, we will close this fund for any new investors. Then whoever is part of the fund will be part of all the 5 or 6 properties that we will have in the fund. So, Shvesh, are there any more questions you would like to?
Oh, I think that was
one more question, Raghu. Wanted to answer about, so we will post all the land transaction details, including the price, purchase price, cost of acquisition, everything in the IMS portal that we do for multifamily. So you have access to all that as a matter of transparency. So you will see all the transaction information you can access anytime when you log into your portal.
Good. And also in our FAQ, we are going to show a distribution example. So that will give you clarity on how the distributions are made once a property is exited. So that slide also you will see it in the FAQ. No? Thank you.
excellent.
I think that is good. I want to thank all the investors for participating in this webinar. It is a working day. We truly appreciate your patience and involvement. This gives us even more energy to do more and bring more opportunities for your consideration. Thank you all. We'll be in touch.